So you guys have both obviously been working in the business for quite some time, had plenty of scripts come your way. What was it about Redstone that drew you both to sign on to this project? I guess Michael, you first, and then Neal.
What drew me to it was Neal. Quite frankly, Neal's a producer on the film as well, and he reached out to me. Apparently, he immediately, when he read it, saw me as someone who wanted to at least reach out because we've been so crazy busy. We didn't know if we'd be able to work together. And
Graham, he was the only choice, but he can continue.
He reached out, and it fit in the schedule, and I honestly said yes before I even read the script. So, and then just reading the script just confirmed everything that I knew. With Neal bringing me something. So for me, it was Neal.
Thanks, brother. For me, it was, I got the script, and my agents are like, it's a really small independent. Not sure if you're gonna really want to do this, but here it is. And I read the script and flipped over it. It's one of those characters that, I've played a litany of villains, obviously, and a lot of it is because I won't do sex scenes. So I have to play villains. And so when you get a character that's, a dark guy who finds his light halfway through and grapples with his faith, grapples with everything, those are the kind of characters I've always really wanted to sink my teeth into. So when I had the opportunity, boy, did I sink my teeth into it. But I knew that if, as much as I wanted to do this film, I needed to surround myself with really great actors because it was a small independent film. And to make it work, you needed that. So Michael was the first person and the only person that I ever said, for this character when I spoke to Derek Presley, the director, and they agreed. And getting Michael it wasn't easy because he was doing so many projects at that time that he had this small little window and it just fit. And I'm blessed, and I will never be able to thank Michael enough for jumping on board Redstone with me, because this movie would have been a good movie without Michael, but it turned out to be a great movie because of Michael Cudlitz. And that's not blowing smoke up your backside. That's just fact, pal. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean,
obviously we hate each other.
It's Michael, right?
I can feel it. Yeah, and I mean, for you, Michael, obviously you get to sink your teeth into like this like great villainous role. Like, how fun was it to just like lean into this like Southern crime lord and just play a full-on villain for you?
It's great. It's so much fun playing these guys because they are so complicated. But with where the writing and where the story takes you, I get to focus on the aspects of what makes him likable. I get to to warm him up as much as possible because I know he's killing somebody. That he's like, those other things are just going to happen no matter what. So
aren't those little fun bits? That's the best part.
And how do you make these people more accessible? Because when you really get down to it, these are two men that are in crisis points in their lives. Me, because of my grandchild, which has literally changed how I'm looking at everything from here on out. I thought family was one thing with my daughter, and now to see the future of my grandchild, there's a reassessment possibly going on. But how do you move forward from what you've done when what you've done is so terrible? And then for Neal, the same sort of thing where there's been a life that has been lived, and things are changing in his life that are making him reflect upon what he's done. And then when those two things collide, what happens? Does the past take over and continue, or are you able to change your future and your trajectory, even though your world is so complicated and specific about where you're headed? It's great. Again, these characters are on journeys, and sometimes you're controlling where it's headed, and sometimes you're just hanging on and taking the ride. And that to me is a lot like actual life. It's like we can control the things we can control, we think, and then everything else is sort of out of our hands.
Yeah, and that was great. Yeah, I loved your character. I loved your character as well, Neal. And, this kind of confrontation that we get between the hitman and like the crime lord, and the whole plot of the movie, really, Redstone is very much a part of this like neo-Western revival that we've seen over the last couple of years, with writers and directors. Taylor Sheridan has done some pretty great work. For you, Neal, as a producer, were you thinking of that as you made Redstone?
Absolutely. Being part of Yellowstone, being the villain, the big bad for one season, it made me realize just by the numbers. You look at how many people are viewing and tuning in to watch Yellowstone. It was like 14 million people last week. That's absurd for a cable show, so there's something to that neo-Western where good guys are tough, bad guys need to get whooped, and that's kind of the same themes that we're using with Redstone, and then with Boone, part two of this. Those are themes that never get old. Everyone loves to see the lead guy grappling with something, like Michael said, these crisis points that we're both going through. When you see these guys grappling with it and how they deal with it, one goes for the goodness, because there's no real difference between our two characters in the first quarter of the film. We're both doing things that are, they're kind of heinous, but we seem like pretty good guys. And then when push comes to shove, when I realize how horrible it is that I'm about to off this 14-year-old boy, then something changes in me. And then Michael's character sees the change, and then there's immediate conflict. And that's what you want in films. And this film has so much conflict on every corner that the audience, of what I've seen so far, what people have said about the film, they love the film because of that. It's the conflict, and in the end, the dirtbag gets it. And that's kind of the cinematic themes that I loved in the 70s growing up. And those are the themes that we're working on now again today. And I think they really work. And Yellowstone's a big part of it.
Yeah, and I think what's so interesting about Redstone, though, especially compared to like older Westerns where you have the clear cut sort of good versus bad, and Michael, you kind of touched on this with your character, each of these characters have their own motivations for what they're doing, so and with Boone in particular, he is kind of straddles the line of this morality and like has a lot of emotion there. And you did mention, Neal, that you do play a lot of bad guys, but you did Eisenhower on American Horror Story in the kind of the good guy role. Is it refreshing to play these like characters with a conscience, I guess, or does it feel the same, or just because
no, they're different
for the role?
No, the bad guys are so easy, and Michael attests to it. You can do whatever you want, as big as you want, as long as you believe it as the villain. I mean, you can go over the top as a villain, and it works. That's not the same case with a hero of a film. That everything is really kind of more internalized, and you're trying to grapple with the problems that you're going through. And that's when it works really well. Michael was so almost approachable and lovable as the villain in the film for the first quarter. You're like, this guy seems like a nice guy. Oh, he just threw a guy into a trash can. He's burning him. Interesting. But gosh, he seems like such a nice guy. And then there's and then it had to be done. Then there's the other side of the coin where this hitman is really trying to figure out who he is and why he's doing what he's doing, and then finally comes to grips that he can't keep doing what he's doing. And by doing so, I have to go back to my boss and say, we're done. And my boss, of course, is like, no, you're not done. Okay, let's fight it out. And it's the simple 70s thematic films that we're really gravitating towards. And this one, I think it really worked. And I'm so proud of Redstone.
Yeah, it's great. And for you, Michael, I was wondering too, because your character has such an interesting dynamic with Boone, and a lot of it is conveyed through, just the like terse conversations we get between the two. There's not a lot of expository dialogue or anything like that. Did you kind of like create this backstory for this crime lord, or were you given one, or did you kind of craft your own story for it?
I came up with a history that was not shared, because I don't again, we don't know like what the specific history is, but I definitely came up with a history that I had with Boone. And I feel that my whole deal is that everybody my immediate family is my family. My work extended family is my family, and you will do anything for family, including kill them if they turn on you. And that's what happens, is that someone who is, I consider family, jeopardized my immediate family. And so we have to cut that leg off. It's not even hard at that point, because of the other things, the grandchild, my daughter, my grandchild take precedence so much. So there's not even the decision making it's sort of a bummer, but it's not like some sort of distant bridge that he has to cross. It's like, okay, this is what we have to do, because he's a realist and he's been doing it a long time, and he knows. I think that Jed knows this has happened possibly before, but when you see this change and there's the hesitation, I think at one point he says something like, why are you questioning me? You know, and you don't question me. That's the one big thing. And the minute I'm questioned, I'm like, okay, red flag. We need to take care of that. We'll take care of the kid, then we need to take care of that. And it's that cut and dry. It's that mindset of work and family. And now it's okay, now we got to go to work. Yeah, it's fun. It's all fun.
Yeah, and then similarly for you, Neal, you know, Boone also has such complexity to him. And as an actor, like, how do you approach playing a role where, you know, not everything is going to be laid out for the audience, but you do have this dynamic shift in like the moral consciousness of this character. So how do you like kind of approach that from an acting perspective?
It's a journey, and when we get to go on journeys as actors, boy, it's fantastic. You get to pull up stuff in your personal life, you get to learn more about yourself, you get to, you know, throw all those things on the canvas. I like to call it puking on the canvas. And you know, with Nick Boone, I you know, as subtle as the choices were at times, that was me puking everything onto the canvas. And then when it finally comes to me in the middle of the field with a, you know, without giving the story points away, you know, I have this, you know, there's my rosary around my neck, and I'm looking at it, I'm realizing I've become this monster of a human being, everything that I didn't want to be earlier in life. And that's what I've become because of my life has just fallen apart. How do I get back to being, you know, a stand-up good guy again? Well, to do it, I have to take out all the problems of the situation and kind of start from scratch. And that's my mindset in the film. So it's a great journey for a lead actor, and for me to kind of infuse my religious beliefs, and you know, me being a devout Catholic, to be able to grapple with our faith, because that's what we all do. We're all humans. We all grapple with our faith, whether you're atheist or Catholic or Jewish or Muslim or Buddhist. You're always grappling with your faith and what is life really about. And Nick Boone really grapples with what life is really about, and I think that's what makes the character so watchable on screen, and to have Michael on the other side of it, the two of us together, you know, two old prize fighters, you know, working their bag, and finally by the end of the film, it's two heavyweights in the ring going at it, and that's what I love. And you know, I'm so proud of being part of Redstone because of that, of our relationship that we built, not just because of our relationship for the last 25 years that we've known each other, but actually being on screen together, which hasn't been very often. Even in Band of Brothers, I don't think we were ever really on screen together for anything of much. But now we finally got to do it, and we loved it, and it was the days went by so fast, and because we loved hanging out with each other and mixing it up and being our characters, and for that I'll always be grateful to Michael.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great movie. I loved it. And that dynamic between you two, I think is really what brings it all together. And then so before I go though, Michael, I've got one more question for you. You know, they're working on Tales of the Walking Dead, and I was wondering if there's any chance we're gonna see Sergeant Abraham Ford return in the anthology series, or maybe even you return behind the camera, maybe to direct an episode of that next year.
The directing is more probable than the other, but the other is not out of the question. It has. I know that it's in flux exactly what Tales is going to specifically be. They've been working on it, but I think they're sort of honing down certain things. And there was talk at one point a while ago about some Abraham backstory. That's not a secret. That's been out. So that's not new news. I'm sure I'm going to read tomorrow. Everyone's going to be like, Cudlitz teases. It's not.
He's back.
It's not a tease. It's just what's been talked about. So I don't know. No one has approached me about that. I have reached out to them though, telling them I had very strong interest in taking part in directing. I did direct again in season 11, episode 11, so it'll be coming up in the next block. But they've been great to me. So if I did not do anything else with them, I would still have incredible respect and love for that team. But I'm hopeful.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your time today.
Thanks,
You know,
Graham.
I'm so excited. Congratulations on the movie. Also excited for Resident Evil, Neil. But you guys have a good day.
That's
Thanks
going
so
to
much
be
for your time.
I just saw it the other day, and my gosh, I
I'm
turned
going
into
Monday.
such a scary monster. It was
I
awesome.
love that. I just want that on a t-shirt. Resident Evil Neil. Just
Oh my gosh. Well,
I
thanks so
love
much
it.
for your time again, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Graham. Be well. Take care.
everybody.
God bless.
You too.
Thank you.